Let's have a quick discussion about what happened with Ukraine's President Zelensky in the Oval Office.
With the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred.
Do you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count one.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. What you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
What up, words? Your boy Challz Brown back again talking facts. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. Keep sending those Cashaps to CLBMG. Gang, listen. I know this isn't a largely political channel, and I'm not going to bore you with a lot of politics and things of that nature, but I do want to discuss this situation with he who shall not be named and Ukraine's President Zelensky and the current Vice President J.D. Vance when they had a discussion which turned into a blow up in the Oval Office. If you are a he who shall not be named supporter, that's okay. This conversation is not going to be necessarily for you, or you're allowed to chime in. I don't suppress any opinions or views, but this is just a quick, I'll get deeper into this later, but I just want to have a quick, we're just talking like the barbershop. We're just going to talk about what happened, and I want to just give you my views on what's going down, just so some of the people that do watch this channel will not only know where I stand, but will kind of get a better world view on what's going on. When I am, yes, once again, I am on Twitter. I know many of you tell me to get the heck off Twitter. You tell me to go to Blue Sky. I do have a Blue Sky page. I got like 7 followers. So until that builds up, I'm on Twitter. So I am on Twitter, and I see a lot of I don't even follow these people. Now, Twitter is set up now where you don't get posts from people you follow. You get posts from people they think you want to see. So the more posts I like that are not even like, it's not even about like, the more posts that I respond to, I'll get more of that. So when I go onto a post that is pro-Trump, or AKA, as I like to say, he who shall not be named, the more I go on those posts and comment, the more of those posts I get. I get a lot of right-wing and conservative posts down my feed. And the consensus is that what happened in the White House the other day when Trump and J.D. Vance double-teamed President Zelensky, the Ukraine president, that showed some kind of strength for America, and that somehow that's a manly president, and that somehow he did the right thing, and that somehow if you don't support him, you're anti-American, and that somehow you need to leave this country if you don't think that this red-blooded American president is doing what he should do, and anybody that wouldn't do it is weak and soft and doesn't know what they're talking about. So what I want to do is have a quick, I'm not going to do this long, because there's so much going on with this that I would be here for hours. So I'm just going to do a quick, we have a homeboy conversation, right? Just real quick. So just before we get started, I want to let you know that Putin is a terrorist. Putin is a dictator and a terrorist that has killed hundreds and thousands of people. I need you to understand what the common consensus has always been for at least 80 years or so, that the Russian government is not an ally of America. As a matter of fact, the Russian government's purpose is to, among other things, crush the American government. It has not been a quiet fact. This has been a very loud fact. They've never, ever wavered in this doctrine. And Russia has not been an ally of the United States, as far as I know, ever. I'm just going to be honest. So any of the Trump fans that are still around, we all have to agree with that because that is a fact. Russia is not an ally of the United States. Putin is not an ally and never will be an ally of the United States. Putin is a dictator whose goal is, at the end of the day, to dominate Europe and then to dominate the world. Are you following me right now? I'm not going to be here all day. I'm going to lay down the basics. I'm just going to lay down the basics and we're going to get out of here. So Putin has shown that he is a killer, a murderer, and an oppressive dictator. One day back in 2014, Putin began his advance into the Ukraine. America, due to our foreign policy, we are an ally of Ukraine. You know why we're an ally of Ukraine? Because Ukraine is one of the first stops in defending Europe. It's called democracy. Everybody that follows democracy are allies. If you don't follow democracy, then you are not an ally, and you're Kim Jong-un, Putin, or one of these dictators who surely would not want their people to be, quote unquote, free as we pretend to be. Okay? So when the word of allies and enemies, Russia is your enemy. I'm just going to be honest. Like I said, I'm going to keep this really swift. So when Russia is your enemy and the Ukraine and the Europe provinces are your friends, you use your resources because you have just as much as Russia. None of them can stand up to Russia. Russia is run by a murderous dictator who, wherever he goes, he's going to murder and dictate. So the reason the U.S. uses our resources and our economy to finance and fund Ukraine is so that Russia can't topple Ukraine, Crimea, and all these places over there, because what's next is a Hitler-like mind state. They're going to move further into Europe. Their whole mission is to take all that shit. I'm just going to be honest. So once you understand that, this is not, see, the people on Twitter don't know or don't care. A lot of them are being disingenuous because some of them know, but they just don't care. And when I see people, especially people of color, going, yeah, Trump did what he's supposed to do. He didn't, gang, because the simple fact, we have foreign policy that protects our interests. So when Zelensky said, you have an ocean between you, but you're going to feel it soon, the influence of Russia, he's right. Because once Russia gets a foothold in Ukraine, they're going to keep moving into other parts of Europe. And once Ukraine falls, it's going to be real hard to stop that Russian bulldozer. They're going to try to take everything over there. But that's what people don't understand. They don't want to tell you that. But as he doesn't just want a part of Ukraine. He wants all of it. And that's why Obama, Trump, and Biden all approved, not just them, the Senate, the Congress, they all approved to send funding over to defend Ukraine because it's a domino effect. They know this guy is not going to stop at Ukraine. He's told every lie in a book about Ukraine, this, that, and the third. He even tried to say there was Nazis in Ukraine, anything to say to justify that war. The war started in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. No, 2022, the actual boots on the ground, we're taking this over. Now, Zelensky was the president at the time. This guy could have folded. This guy was a former comedian. They didn't know how he became the president, but he was an elected official. And he was like, they thought he was going to run. He's like, I'm not running. I'm standing here fighting. 3 years later, he's still fighting for his country. He could have ran. They thought he was going to run on day one. So here we are. We have been supplying Ukraine missiles and other things and defense because they are an ally. That's why. We have trillions of resources in military and things of that nature, because our goal, our foreign policy is to protect democracy. The more places that have democracy that fall, that means you have less places as your ally. Am I making sense so far? So when places start falling that have your same rule of law, you become less powerful in the world. And as China and Russia start to accumulate more land and more places in their name, you become smaller and have less allies. That's just how it works. So you defend your allies. Now, every president for 80 years has understood this. Are you guys following me right now? 80 years since the end of World War II. Every president knows you protect your allies because it's in your best interest. If this guy gets hold of Europe and he makes Russia control Europe, all of that's going to be under Russian law. All of that's going to be under his regime. And now he's controlling a lot of currency and a lot of things that come out of the world market will surely shift when everybody's using, what is it, Russian rupees or whatever they call it? Rubles, rubies, whatever they got. And that's going to change the world market. He's going to be able to control. He's going to have more control than we do. That's why we have NATO and things of that nature, so that when these dictators try to take these places over, we can form as allies, which is why you have NATO in the first place, and stop them like we did with Hitler. Are y'all following me so far? In this scenario, Putin is Hitler. So when Zelensky went in that White House and Trump started to say, poor Putin, he started to defend Putin and he started to accuse Zelensky of talking bad about Putin. It started there, gang. You got to understand, Trump and J.D. Vance came in that meeting to attack this guy. You got to know what's going on. I'm just telling you what it is. J.D. Vance and he who shall not be named came in that meeting to attack that man. Because if your foreign policy is in stone, there's nothing to argue about. You shouldn't be telling him he didn't say thank you. He said thank you more than enough, but he shouldn't have to say thank you to you because you walked in that meeting basically saying, yeah, we're not even going to talk to you. We're just going to give your land to Russia. And you're going to give 50%. If I'm not mistaken, 50% of your minerals are going to go to 25% to Vladimir Putin and 25% to us because you, quote unquote, owe us. Now Trump is, mind you, our deficit is crazy. You know how many countries we owe? I don't know if you know that. But somehow Trump is calling in his you owe me's now that it's Putin in the mix, right? Go watch it. He starts defending a dictator and a traitor. He is the leader of the free world. Our foreign policy is against dictatorships and treacherous oligarchs and people of this nature, whose whole mission is to kill, maim, and destroy and conquer. Our foreign policy is to stop them. You don't have to thank us. You don't have to bow down and kiss our ring because that's in our best interest as well. So at this point, he's in a meeting with the foreign head of state telling him, you need to calm down because we're trying to help you. Meanwhile, how are you trying to help them? Your whole plan was they had a whole meeting. You got to understand what's going on. Trump, J.D. Vance, and Putin and these other guys had a whole meeting and didn't invite the person they were talking about, which is the president of Ukraine. They were deciding Ukraine's fate without the leader of Ukraine in the room. Make it make sense, gang. Make it make sense. They made a whole plan of what they were going to do and then told him what it was going to be. And I know you guys don't like that woman that ran for president, that lost to he who shall not be named, but she said it in the debate. She said, what you're going to do when you get in office, if you do win, you're going to immediately cave and fold to Vladimir Putin. Whatever he wants in the Ukraine, you're going to give it to him. You're not going to fight him. You're not going to push back. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. He didn't push back. He didn't fight. And what Ukraine did was had to concede and sit in that White House and have J.D. Vance, who just got into this position not too long, a couple days ago, and have Trump tell him, you're not being thankful enough for us making a deal without you in the room. And we told Vladimir Putin, he's not only getting part of your land, which we shouldn't have to give him nothing. You got to understand, they don't owe this guy nothing. But he who shall not be named and J.D. Vance sound like a used car dealership, right? J.D. Vance is telling us, you need to be grateful. You need to sit down, sign these paperwork, give away your minerals and resources, and give this guy half your land. Now, you know what's going to happen when he comes and gives him half his land? You know how Vladimir Putin going to come into that damn, whatever state house they got in? He going to come in there like a monster. I wouldn't be surprised if Zelensky makes it a week after he signs this thing and Vladimir Putin is allowed to walk freely up and through Ukraine. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy makes it a week before they put that poison on his doorknob, that if you touch it, you die. Huh? So we're just going to have a conversation. When they told this guy, the reason he's in the Oval Office barking on him, because this guy been through 3 years of hell. Hundreds of thousands of these people are dying, gang. These guys don't know if they're going to make it through the winter. And he got this sucker over here with a suit on talking about, you have not said thank you enough. You got to understand what's going on. This guy's in a real fight. Putin is bombing them. They're shooting them. They're killing them every single day. And J.D. Vance is like, you ain't being grateful enough for what? You're trying to take it from him. You're trying to take his land. You're trying to give away their minerals. And you know he's surely going to die when this guy comes there. So why should he thank you for anything? You ain't done shit but talk shit. So I'm not going to spend much time on this, but I just need you to understand this is not good. The entire Europe has said, okay, we see that Trump is rolling like this. He's on some rocking with the enemy thing. So cool. Europe is going to roll without him. We're not, listen, we are not we're not on the right side of history right now, gang. I'm just going to be honest. This is going to age badly. The entire world is like, yo, what's going on with America? But we know what it is. He got something going on with Putin that he cannot, something's going on, gang. Putin got pictures, videos, something of that trip when he went over to Russia. He got something on him, gang. You're the president of America, and our foreign policy is to protect our foreign interests from dictators, but you're telling the president, our ally, you're in the office telling him that you're being disrespectful to Putin, who's killing his people? You got to make this make sense. Putin is literally killing his people, and you're telling him, I'm not going to stand for this rhetoric against Putin. It's dumb. And if I said something that's not factual, let me know in the comments. But I think I did a good goddamn job. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep up on these stories here and there. I'm not going to beat you over the head with politics, but I am going to come back here and there and just update you so that some of you understand. I know a lot of you don't get someone just breaking this stuff down in plain English, but I'm just going to be here to tell you that this goes against our entire belief system. And what I'm amazed at is we used to understand these things. It was basic knowledge back in the 70s, 80s that Russia is not our friend and they never will be. But somehow it's not until this guy got into office that all of a sudden we're making excuses for Putin, who's poisoning, killing, bombing people, interfering with elections. This guy was like, he got accused of election interference because he did it, gang. But listen, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to let you think about just that little bit. That's just a tip of the iceberg. Let me know what you think in the comments. But I am listen, our foreign policy is for our own benefit. I'm just going to be honest. It's the reason we have it. There's a lot of military guys that'll tell you the same thing. A lot of veterans are embarrassed with this administration. And I'm going to leave it at that. CLBMG. Peace.
Look, mission impossible to drop a few lines without dropping old times when Southern Hill was still a gold mine. When pistol grips was my shit and I sold mine. When Alias was not a show and they told mine.
CLB.